Morning, guys. Dr. Ken Nordberg here today, this morning. I've got a really important, one of my fireside hunting seminars to present today. I'm going to tell you all about my hunting stool, how to build one, and why you should do it too. But before I get into the details about that, I'd like to ask a favor of you. It's taken a lot of my time. I've got a lot of seminars now on YouTube, a whole bunch of them, and they're really popular, and I sure thank you for that. And I need about 10,000 subscribers. It's really important to me to make it more economically feasible to do this. I've got a lot of trips coming up to go up to my whitetail study area up by the Canadian border, and that costs money and time, and I want to do the best job I can to continue giving you seminars like the ones you've been enjoying up to this time. And it's fun for me, and I feel like I'm doing a good thing for deer and hunters and deer hunting, and so I want to continue that. This old guy at age 84, doing this can provide me with a little bit of extra money. You can't live on Social Security, that's impossible. So it doesn't cost you anything to subscribe, not a penny. A few advantages to that. So please take a minute or so to do that before you sign off today. Then also while you're there, as equal importance, if you like what you've heard, give me a thumbs up. Poke that little thumbs up button down there at the bottom of the screen. So, appreciate that. Thank you. Now, let's get down to business here. On the table here in front of me is an ugly stool. And, it might look like an ordinary old wooden camp stool like they used to make years ago, but it's far from that. I tried using some folding stools years ago, back in about 1990s, and after a few hours of using them, I discovered there were things about them that I didn't like at all. They were both made with tubular metal tubes, and there's several things bad about that. One was that when you sit on a stool made with that metal tubing, those round tubes start digging into your bottom. After a couple hours on those, it becomes an instrument of torture. And a squirming hunter doesn't see many deer. You can't be moving around a lot because your bottom is aching sitting on metal tubing. So I decided I gotta have a stool that doesn't have metal tubing. The other thing that was bad about it, when you're walking in the woods, and if you squeeze in between a couple trees and that metal tubing strikes the tree and makes a metallic sound, every deer in the woods that is 3.5 years of age or older, and a lot of them that are 2.5 as well, knows that's a hunter that made that noise. Only humans make metallic sounds. And boy, when one of those metallic tubes strikes a tree, that's a metallic sound that can probably be heard on a quiet morning, maybe 1.5 mile away, easy. So that, you just don't want that. What I wanted is a stool that is silent to use, silent to carry, and silent to use when hunting. Now, there's other things about this tool that are unique, which I'll tell you about as we go along. But why do this? Well, here's a pretty good reason. This coming November, I'll be hunting whitetails for 2 weeks. This will be my 74th whitetail hunting season. I won't be hunting with bow this year, but I will be out there with my rifle. My 73rd year. And in all those years, all but 3 trophy bucks that I've taken, all but 3, and there's a lot of them, were taken while I was sitting on this stool. As I've mentioned before, and, since 1990, my three sons and I have taken 101 mature bucks. That means bucks 2.5 years of age up to 7.5 years of age. And I've taken a quarter of those, about a quarter of those, and that is pretty doggone good buck hunting. And I can say, I couldn't have done that. I couldn't have come close to doing that without this tool. So you can imagine how important I feel this tool is and how valuable I think this is for buck hunting. So, but like I say, this ugly old thing, it's 30 years, almost, well, it's 28 years old now. I've never had to change anything on it except this fabric cover. I changed that about 15 years ago because corners on the original fabric were starting to come apart at the corners here. So, other than that, I've had to tighten screws once in a while, make sure they're good and tight, and that's it. Maybe squirt a little paint on a rusty bolt, like, or a shiny one like there, before the season starts, so I don't have everything that glints in the sun and catches the eye of an approaching buck. But other than that, I haven't had to do anything. This thing has been amazingly durable all these years. It'll outlast me. Probably one of my grandsons, or maybe even a great-grandson, will probably put a lifetime into the hunting this tool as well. That's how good it is. Good and strong. So, now, on this tool I've got this blaze orange cover. That's on my back. So when I'm walking in the woods, somebody behind me doesn't decide they see a deer walking on the trail ahead of them. So that's for protection. And also hanging on that stool is a backpack. Doesn't look like much of a backpack. It's only about 6 by 10, 12 inches and about 16 inches tall. My wife sewed it together for me according to my specifications. And it's open on top with a drawstring on it and this gizmo for tightening up on it. And it's got a flap on it. And even that, now one of the folding stools I used back in 1990 had zippers. And it had a cross strap across the front where the strap, you had straps coming here, cross strap, with one of those buckles that snaps together. Zippers and snaps you don't want on a stool, or at least I didn't want anything like that. Nothing that could make a noise that tell a buck there's a hunter over there. So this closure on this thing, on my little pack sack here, has what I call a double D closure. See, there's 2 D rings on there, and that can be put together silently. Just slip that strap in there, and in that thing like this. Pull that down in there, and there it is, and that just will come open. Now, this strap is the same as my shoulder straps. It's nylon belting. You can buy it at any fabric store. This is just inch-wide belting, and double D, things like that you can buy. And I put it on with rivets, little washers and rivets. Well, I put a little fabric cement on there to hold it in place, drill a little hole in there for my rivets, put a washer on each side, and pop rivets, and that holds that on. And then inside the bag, down here, so it wouldn't rip loose ever, let's open it up, I'll show you. I put a piece of this belt, a little short piece, or wherever you cut the belt, you take a match or a little torch and burn the edges so it melts, and then it won't ever come apart, it won't fray apart. But so I did the same thing, put a little fabric sand on those to hold it in place, and drill a little hole and rivet it on. And this has been like this for 28 years and never come apart. Starting to show a little wear. Doesn't look like a huge pack sack, but it carries everything I want to bring afield, maybe a little lunch or a snack and a bottle of water and my field dressing material and a rope, which I usually need when I'm field dressing. And I can if it's a relatively warm day and I don't want to wear my coat while I'm hiking to my stand, I can stuff my big, really warm hiking coat, you know, like you need in northern Minnesota where it can get well below zero on early in the morning. I can stuff that entire coat in there and to carry it to my stand site so I won't sweat on the way out there. So nice to have a pack sack on there when you're, especially when you're a stand hunter. So those are on there. Well, in a minute here I'm going to take those off so that we can look at the details of what I did to make my stool. See, what I'm about to take off is this wooden slat. It's on the inside of the pack and it screws onto this back piece here on my stool. And it holds it on. And I like a nice long one like that because it holds the bag wide open, and when you're stuffing a big coat in there, it makes it easy to have plenty of room to stuff things in there. But it's held on by 4 screws on the back of this, so that's a simple way of holding these things on. When I used to do a lot of bow hunting, I would take off this part. I wouldn't have the blaze orange on there. So, but anyway, let's get that off. All right, get the last screw out here. Take that slat off. Oh, simple little slat like this holds all this stuff on there. Notice I got the screw heads, the screw holes staggered because it's a thin piece, and that way it isn't likely, if you tighten it down real tight, to split the thing. So, besides, it's made out of oak. It's really a strong slab. Okay, now let's get off my pack sack and my orange, blaze orange panel. Get this out of the way. Now you can start to see more of how this stand is put together. Well, so we'll talk about different things here. Now that that's off, you can start to see how things are done here. Notice that it's made of 2 rectangles of wood put together. I started out, I decided I want this wood, this was cut from a plank, 10-inch wide plank about 4 feet long, and I cut them all, the whole thing up into pieces 1.5 inches wide. And this was straight grain oak, good shelving type oak. Cost a little bit of money, but worth the extra. But anyway, all these pieces are 1.5 inches wide. And then, to make it ergonomically comfortable, I decided this should be chair height, so that when you're sitting there, your knees are at a right angle. If they're up here like this, that's not so comfortable if you got your knees up. So, for me, you know, 5'10" guy, weighing about 200 pounds, I decided these leg pieces should be 20 inches long. And you end up with a big stool that's 20 inches long and about 1 foot wide and about a little door. It's about 14 inches from this side to this side. You know, it ends up that way. So now, what's really important about these legs here, this is really important. When you screw these holes for these bolts, and these are stainless steel bolts, they're not cheap bolts. When you screw those holes, they got to be absolutely straight in the middle, from the top of that piece to the bottom, right in the middle there, on both sides, straight through. So both of these legs, the inside legs and outside legs. Because if they aren't straight, as you start closing this thing up, the wood pieces will come together and start squeaking together. You don't want that squeaking. So it's got to be done carefully, very straight, at exactly the same distance from the ends on both sides, through both sets of these legs. Now, I mentioned, for me, I made these about 20, I made them 20 inches long. Now, for you guys, these 6-footers or better, you'll be a lot more comfortable if you make these legs longer. I would suggest that, you know, if you're over 6 feet, make these legs about 23 to 24 inches long, and you'll be a lot more comfortable. That'll be good for you. So, anyway, that's one thing on there. Now, these bottom pieces are on here to give it stability, so you know this thing isn't cranking one way or another with these pieces on the ground. The old camp stools didn't have that. That's really vitally important. You want stability in these two rectangles. You don't want them bending one way or another. So I got those on there for that. And then I put these pieces low on the legs. It is about 3 inches from the bottom. And they actually help to keep this stool from sinking deep in deep snow. You know, that's kind of funny. One year we had, 3 years ago, we had hip deep snow. You sat down in the snow, and the snow was up here, and of course your feet were down there. But ordinarily, if the snow is firm, that helps to stabilize it, keep it from sinking too deep. But you know, the ground where you put your stool down isn't always level. So sometimes you have to, when you're sitting it down, you know, and you can set it down silent, you press on it and see, and if it wants to tip this way, you have to turn it this way or this way. But the thing about a stool like this, you can set it on it from this way or this way, and it doesn't matter. At least my stool. This part is made to be comfortable. Now, here's a tricky thing on it. You see here, this is made from that webbing. It's an inch wide. These are my shoulder straps. Now, you see down here underneath, right here, this is one strap. It isn't two straps, it's one strap. And all you do is, when you're down here, this thing is put on the side opposite. You know, here's my pack sack and everything is over on this side. This is the other side of the stool, but it's put on the opposite side here, these straps, so that when you pick up your stool and you grab your straps, it automatically closes and stays closes, automatically closes and stays closes while you're carrying it. You see, it won't come apart, flop around. That keeps it tight together while you're walking. So that's kind of important. And the thing about having one attachment, there's just one screw and washer holding the shoulder strap together like that. Once you put it on your back, here, I'll put it on my back. Okay, once you put it on your back, slip it on, those straps will never fall off your shoulder. That is put together in the middle like that. When you put pressure on it, it's constantly pulling the straps inward. And so it won't allow this to strip off. Walk all over the woods, never worry about it falling off one shoulder or the other. Always stay on. And then here's another thing. When you have straps like that, you don't need a cross strap here. None at all. One of the stools I had before had a cross strap because the shoulder straps were attached on the sides, so you needed that to hold them together, and it had one of those connections that went click when you attached it. You don't want something like that. You don't need anything like that with this shoulder strap attached like I just did, and it holds the stool together. Now, here's another thing. The straps for this are custom made for me. You know, when I built it, I had my wife helping me here. We got the thing up on my back with my hunting clothes on, especially my big heavy coat. You know, I have that on when you're just trying to decide how long those straps should be. And I want this thing, you know, you notice in the back, with the straps the way I have them, this thing hangs down a little below my shoulders. So it's like down there like that, you know. I didn't want it really high up against my neck. I wanted it down here, like that. And so that way you have no straps wrapped around your neck. You want it hanging down a little bit. So I wanted it there, and I wanted it to be loose enough so I could get it on my coat, you know, while wearing my coat, no problem. So that helps to looseness. When I got my big coat on, usually what I want to do, if I want to put it on, take it off with that coat on, I lean over a little bit, push that up, and then I can get my arms out easy, you see, and vice versa when putting it on. But anyway, it's on there like that, and it won't slip. Now, to custom make it, when I got it right where I wanted it to be, I had my wife go down here where the ends are. I'm holding it there, holding it where the ends are down here, both sides. They're going to be attached on that inside legs right here, both sides, down at the bottom. You want that to go as far as you can so that you have lots of room here to work with. You want to be able to have this space here. So all the way down there at the end. And have her mark that belt with something, a crayon or something, where it's right in the middle of that spot where you want it, right there, where my fingers are. Mark that. Okay. So then I could take it off. Now, what I did then, see, let's turn this like this. Here's where the mark is, see? Well, add an inch to double up this end of the strap. And of course, burn the end so it won't break. But add an inch and fold it, put that spot right there, and drill a hole, put a screw, and put a washer on it, screw it down. And from then on, you never need buckles, nothing clicking or extra problems to when you're putting your stool and take it on and take it off your back. That'll handle it just well. So I've removed all the silence that goes with putting the thing on your back, strapping it to your back. Custom made, never have to change it. This is made just for you. Each guy has to make his straps custom made for him. You might not like what you had the first time. If you don't, well, do it again. Take another piece and do it again. You might decide, I wish I had 2 more inches on there, something like that. So, here's another thing. You see this joint here? This joint? Now, there's a washer in between. This keeps it from the wood on the 2 rectangles from rubbing together. A little space in there. And that space is provided by a washer. The first washer I put in there is kind of a little tricky, you slip it in there and get it to where you want it to be, and then you look through the holes. It's not right in the middle, and you have to take a nail or something and get it centered on the hole before you can get the bolt through. And the bolt has a washer on the outside, and that's a metal washer, and one on this side. Well, that first metal washer I put on there was metal, and it rusted. I didn't use it all year, and here comes the next year saying, it's squeak, squeak, it's rusty. Well, you think, all you have to do is put oil in there. But you don't want smelly oil on your hunting stool. I don't want smelly oil. So I thought, well, what am I going to do about this? So I bought a white nylon, they're a flat washer, like a fender washer. I put one of those in there instead. And that never needs lubrication. And it provides you with a good silent joint all the time. This has been like that for 28 years. Doesn't make any noise. Isn't that amazing? That's what you want. Another way of making a sound. Now, when I first put in these bolts, I started out with a lock washer and a nut on there. But you keep opening and closing, and the darn lock washer would loosen up, and then the bolt would fall off. So finally, I got these bolts with the nylon center. They're locking bolts. They're round on top. I got them on backwards because I had cut my original bolts back to fit that original flatter-looking nut that was on there. But this worked fine, so I put it on backwards so the nylon part is against the bolt. I put these nylon lock nuts on there. And I got them on backwards, and I just explained why. Well, now, ever since I see it's a little, you can move that. Yeah. But these have never come loose in 28 years. They've always been right there, never have to touch them. And provide me with silent joints on my stool. Very important. Now, let's talk about all about attaching this canvas seat. Now, you'll notice that here I've got a unfinished leg. It's a longer leg than mine. But I would, if I were to make it again, I might add 2 inches to that. But it's fine. Oh, it goes this way, yeah. Each one of these legs has a notch in it like that. And the notch is 3/4 of an inch deep to accommodate, you know, a 1.5 inch wide slat. These are all 1.5 as well. And they go on there, you know, like that. And the slat, one slat goes across this, and the other slat goes in between. Okay. Now, you know, here's a leg with a slat, and you see this notch is there to accommodate a cross piece here all the way to the ends of these leg parts. So all the way in. The other one, the other cross piece, there's 2 of them, goes between the legs, you know. So one to the outside and one to the inside. And the 2 together, screwed together, makes a very, very durable cross piece on the top. The part that gets all the pressure when you're sitting on it and also holds the canvas seat. Now, you know, if you're a handy guy, you know, carpenter, you got tools, you can do things like this at home. Just about anybody could do this. I learned to be a carpenter during college years. I worked as for a building contractor, building houses. And I went from being a laborer to a finishing carpenter and putting exterior shingles on houses and things like that over about a 5-year period of time. So I got to be a little handy about things like this, thinking as I went along. But what I wanted to do, I wanted 2 slats like this, not only for the strength it would provide in the stool and you know, and making these corners really stable, but also I could put the ends of the canvas seat between them and screw them together. I put a little fabric cement in there as well and screw them together real tight. Many screws. Look at all the screws. And the same on the other. Look at all the screws to hold the canvas seat. And that works so well. It's never slipped. They've never came out of there. Just wore out at once about 15 years ago, the first one. But anyway, so that was important. But here's another thing. This the inside one on both sides. You see that? See how it's flattened out like that? It's 45-degree angle. See, look at here now. When the stool is open now, this X should be like 45-degree angle. But mine is a little bit wider. Mine's a little bit, 1/2 inch wider. Well, 1/2 inch on both sides wider than the ends of the legs down here. And that doesn't matter, that's fine. But you try to get it kind of normal there, but a little extra width doesn't matter. But you shouldn't have a lot. But about like this works out pretty good. But you see up here, instead of having a sharp edge of a cross piece to sit on, it's flat. And not only is that flat, but these inside edges are sanded down nice and round, so you don't have any sharp edges on this, on the inner part to dig into your legs and your rump. So nice and smooth, makes it much more comfortable. Here's another thing you might notice. The inside rectangle here, wooden rectangle, is shorter across, the width is shorter than the outside. So the canvas part goes all the way across, full width on the short one, and ends up inside of the outside legs on this side. So it's even width across there. And it's kind of important that way because that way you aren't trying to make a trapezoid out of it to make it work like you'd like, just straight across. That's just fine. And then this canvas seat, you'll notice, you're probably wondering about, it's double thickness, 2 thicknesses. And the underside is lapped. You see that? Right in the middle there's a lap. And actually that lap is about 3 inches wide. So it goes way over here. you don't have to attach that middle part. I started doing, the first one I made, I had this attached to it. And it constantly wanted to be pulled apart. And it wasn't really necessary to do that. So I just left that open. So it's just like when I made the seat, I made it wide enough so that you could fold it like that, put it in there, put the ends between those slats, put a little fabric cement in there, or even wood glue. You can even use a little wood glue there instead. Put a little line on each side, inside here, so it stays there until you get it all screwed down. And then it pays, when you do that, to drill your holes. You might put a clamp on here to hold it down. Drill your holes for the screw through the canvas, because if you don't do that, the screws are going to have trouble. They might get snarled up when they're trying to go through there. So make holes through the canvas with your drill before you put in the screws. So then that'll make it a lot easier to get them in there. Good tip there. But once you do that, here you got your straps, and the straps go from the side where your pack sack is attached to the inside of the legs, where there's nothing, the same one, the same rectangle, the inside rectangle on the inside of the leg. So the pack sack is here, your strap goes here and here, and it's there. And so now you see all the details in this thing. The ends of the legs, we made a 45-degree cut to those, so the legs would sit flat and a little easier to get settled on the ground, and like that, a little more stable that way, instead of depending on pushing the sharp corners down. Nice and flat there, so adds to stability. So you see, a lot of thought went into creating a stool that would be comfortable, to keep me comfortable for 4 or 5 hours at a time out there in stand sites, that could be carried around and set on the ground silently. And that's what this thing is. Oh, one thing too, when making screws now, there's some different lengths here, like I got screws here that go into this slat. I want that strap to stay put there. When I add canvas, this inside piece comes out, and on this side, the inside piece comes out. So, but these outer ones, they're held in place by screws going this way and this way. And then on this one, I even added a screw in the top there. So that's a longer screw. That's about a 2-inch screw. Most of these are, what, 1.25 inches, I think, something like that, 1.5 inches. But when you buy screws, don't buy cheap screws. This is where pay for good screws. The best screws today are construction grade screws. They cost more, but buy them. They'll be worth it. Because you're building a stool like this that's going to last you 30 or more years, maybe 50. So build it good and strong. You don't want to have trouble with it when you're hunting out in the woods. So get good screws. Ordinary screws are not strong. They bend easily. They get rusty. You try to take them out and they bust apart or something, or they strip at the heads and you can't get a screwdriver working there, and then you got to drill them out and all kinds of trouble. So anyway, get good screws. So that's important. And then countersink them all. Now, for 2 reasons. One is they won't snag on things, like your pants or on tree branches or grass or things, get stuck on them. And then you can't countersink that. Well, you could, I suppose, but I didn't. But you want to countersink these. And another reason is, in time, if they aren't countersinked, the paint is going to wear off, and you'll have lots of shiny heads, from brushing against branches and foliage. You have lots of shiny heads, Now, right now, before I hunt this year, I'm going to have to give that bolt there a squirt of camo paint. Now, I haven't painted this thing for years. This is the original paint job. It's kind of camo-ish, but it's a lot of wear on there on the wood, but that's not, it might look ugly, but it's not shiny ugly. The sunshine that makes it really shine. Doesn't make it obvious. I think the uglier it looks, the more camouflaged it is. It's better than any camouflage job I can do with paint cans. So I like it to be ugly. And so keep that in mind. Countersink the screws. It gives you a little more depth into the wood that you're screwing into also, which is good. So that's basically it. But, like I said, this is an extremely valuable buck hunting tool. And you can't know how valuable it is until you have one of your own. You can't buy one like this. My son John has built some for people on request, and he's good at that. Good carpenter, and with a pack sack even. And he's got a few innovations of his own that he's put into it, but he built them, so you might contact him. Now, for more detailed information about this tool, you can go to my website, and there's an article in there from a magazine I wrote for Midwest Outdoors a number of years ago with dimensions and everything done from the beginning. We're photographing, cutting the wood and doing all the things that we did. So the dimensions are there, and so if you need more detailed information, go to my website and look for that list. There's a list of magazine articles. We put new ones in there a lot for people to read. It's free, from way back. Some of them go back to the 1980s, and which are all good ones. They're all important. But you'll find more information about how to build a stool like this. But if you take the time to do it, it won't be long. You'll be taking a picture of you with a big buck and the stool standing beside you. Because you'll tell people, that stool made it possible to hit this buck, and you can't wait for it to happen again. So, and it will, much more often than any other way you can hunt. Much more often than using a tree stand. Because think of this. The way we hunt today, and what been teaching you, I'm get down to brass tacks even more before the next season starts. But I'm teaching you how to know where big bucks are active today, which trails they're using today, which feeding areas today, which doe they're with in estrus, which it makes the bedding area important, midday, things like that. But that kind of stuff is called mid-hunt cruising or mid-hunt scouting, is what you do to be able to find where your big bucks are active right now, today. Not tomorrow, yesterday. And the thing that's important by that, does are only in estrus 24 to 26 hours, so tomorrow, the information you got by midday cruising might not mean anything. It might not be worth beans because that buck is now with a doe a mile away the next day, you see. You got to be able to find where that buck is today, every day, and move to wherever he is every day, silently, using all the precautions I've talked about when walking to a stand site. There's a whole 30-some precautions. A lot of guys say, oh, it can't be done. Well, it can't be done if you don't use those precautions. No, and it can't be done every time. But it's going to certainly happen often enough so you'll see one or more mature bucks every hunting season. How about that? The way to make use of that kind of information, is to be able to move quickly today, now, in an hour, or right now, sit right here. I'm on my way to another stand site. Holy cow, here's a doe. That's obviously an estrus because here's some 4-inch tracks accompanying them. They're going together, and the buck is dragging his tracks from hoof to hoof. He's under the influence of doing estrus pheromone. They're on the way to this feeding area where I was going to go, right up here. Boy, is that exciting to find. Or they're going to this one over, this part of the feeding area, not where I was going to go. I was going over here. It's over here on this part over here. So I'm going to back off, make a circle and come around, go to that part. If I don't run into the tracks of them going further, okay, I'm in business. Now I'm going to move forward. I'm doing this in the dark, forward, and I'm going to move up to about 10 feet from this edge. And here's a place I looked at earlier when I was scouting pre-season. And there's a good spot to sit right over this way. There's a little knoll there with a lot of big evergreens on it. And I could sneak in there without being seen, sit down silently with my stool, and I'm in business. And boy, has that worked so many times for me. But at any rate, this is how you take advantage of my very best fair chase hunting method that I call opportunistic stand hunting. Now you know why it's called opportunistic, because you're taking quick advantage of vital information for buck hunting every day. And every day that puts you close to a mature buck somewhere. And like I say, doesn't always work. But if you're a stand hunter, a guy who sits 4 or 5 hours in the morning and 4 or 5 hours in the afternoon, not wandering all over your hunting area, if you're a stand hunter, but whitetails, most whitetails that are 3.5 years of age or older, no, you're not an aggressive hunter. You're not a hunter who chases them around, trailing them, sneaking, trying to get closer, stopping often, doing things like that. That's pure hunting behavior that older bucks readily identify and understand. That's a dangerous hunter that's doing that. It's like a lion or tiger sneaking up on a prey, a deer. So, oh, I don't want that. So anyway, this enables you to get close, silently. So those big bucks just can't be sure what you are. They might hear some noises you make, but it's not human-like noises. And so you put all that together with a silent to use stool. You put it down in silent, sit on it silently. That's a lot different than trying to carry a tree stand, a portable, and put it in a tree there in the dark and get up there without any deer within 50 yards. That's what you're going to do. You're going to end up within 50 yards of bucks all the time when you do this. With that, you won't get away with it. So that's good for opening weekend. Wow, 2 of my sons and grandsons have tree stands they sit in every year opening weekend. And they always get at least 2 mature bucks opening weekend. But they have enough tree stands set up so they can move every half day for 2 days. The 3rd day, they're on their stools. From then on, we're all hunting from stools. And the rest of the bucks, the 4 bucks we take annually are taken from stools. So sometimes the tree stand hunters will get 3 on opening weekend. Guys, they'll stay till Monday noon or something, and they'll get another one on Monday morning. That happens. But the rest of the time, sometimes they only get 1 on opening weekend, and us guys on stools will get the other 3, and we'll have opportunities for them. They'll get 4, and then we might go out anyway and see more bucks, but that's all we're going to take in our deer country, because we don't have a lot of deer there because of the excess numbers of wolves there. But anyway, that's what opportunistic stand hunting is all about, and this is an important tool to be able to do that. You can't do it with tree stands except opening weekend. From then on, you're a ground level hunter making use of really good natural cover at ground level that you don't have to change at all. Leave it alone. You're not in there filling the area with trail scent, putting up the stand and spending hours there, cutting tree branch, changing the looks of the area, things like that. You're not changing anything. And you sit down, natural cover, nothing different there to attract the attention of an approaching buck. Boy, is that the way to hunt bucks. Okay, so now you know everything about this tool and almost everything you need to know to build one. So go to that article in my website, and you'll find more information about that. But get a stool, or either that or send a letter to John. Ask him to make you one. He can do one at a reasonable price, and it'll be as durable as this one. So, thanks guys, and remember now, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and if you like what you heard, I can't imagine you don't, give me a thumbs up. That's important. But please do that. Do me the favor for doing that. Thanks a lot, guys, and I'll see you again soon. Be sure to visit my website. Here's the link. Here you'll find links to my blog posts, my Twitter account, my YouTube account, my Amazon store with links to my ebooks, my son's eBay store, a money saver if you're ordering from Canada or other countries, my website bookstore, and much more.